Hello everybody. So today we're going to do our first fascia response intuitive session. It is a little bit chilly outside, so I'm going to give you guys some warm-ups outside of the fascia that we would normally work with. But I've got my room nice and warm. If you are a bit chilly, please, it's so important with the fascia that we stay really nice and warm, really comfortable. Okay. So a couple of things as we start with our session. The whole idea in the fascia response and integration system is that we hold a very unique and very honorable space for our bodies and for our beings, and understand that at different spaces in time and different experiences that we go through, our bodies will naturally express and bring our attention toward anything that we need to be aware of. Now, that expression may be something that we understand as something needing to be fixed or changed, but in actual fact, it's just your natural innate expression of how the body knows how to get your attention or how to actually express through physical manifestation what it is needing to bring awareness to. So for today, normally the intuitive will just kind of work with whatever comes through in a session, but because we're running it as a group focus today, I'm going to give you a little bit of direction so that you can focus a little bit more attentively to anything that you would actually like to work with in today's session. So what you're going to do, you're going to hold a specific focus, and this focus can be as pinpointed to one aspect or as broad as you would like the attention to be. So when we work with fascia, very, very important, there is no limitation. The fascia is essentially our communication system. It's a world that connects all worlds. So however you want to work with your focus is absolutely fine. If you want to do physiological, emotional, spiritual, or the combination of everything. If you want to work with, for example, relationships, if you want to work with a business, it can be absolutely any focus that you want to work with. This will potentially be your physical manifestation. So your part in that energy matrix of your focus is what the intuitive placements can actually influence. Because everything is energy, the pulsation of our frequency that we emit will naturally influence everything that we participate in. So your focus can be anything. Just for today, I'm going to bring in more of a physiological focus for myself, just because I'm feeling kind of like the collective at the moment quite intensely. So my body's feeling quite achy, specifically along the spine and into the base of my neck. So that is going to be my focus for today. But really, as I said, it can be anything for you. Okay, so as we're going to start, we're going to bring in a little bit of a Qigong exercise here, who the beautiful Qigong practitioner Adele Smith, she brought in this when I did a workshop with her, and it was just such a beautiful focus. So standing nice and relaxed, feet hip distance apart, toes facing forward, nice and parallel, creating a very clear vision of what you're wanting to participate in and where you're wanting to go, kind of connecting with the heart's desires as to how you want to participate with your experience and with the body. So for today, we're going to just do a very gentle warm-up. So what this exercise does is just gently rocking in and out of the movements, and it's very, very relaxed. We're going to do this as a very gentle warm-up for the body. It's also a really beautiful way to actually build up energy in your body so that you can replenish and you can essentially reconnect with your divine essence of regeneration and rejuvenation and all those wonderful things. So generally with the Qigong, what we're doing here is we're building our Wei Qi field with energy. We're welcoming energy into the body. So just a few pointers here. We're not going to go into a full tutorial. If you keep your channel nice and close, so you don't want to give your energy away, you want to keep it nice and close. So just out of personal preference, I like to keep my hands touching in the front and touching at the back. This also reminds me that as I get to the back aspect of the touching, to relax into the chest, open the heart, and just let this expression go nice and free. So this is just more of a warm-up. You can take your warm-ups as relaxed or as wonderful as you want to. It's more just to start connecting with how the body just enjoys to move. So while we're doing this, you may find that the heat in the body is starting to generate really nicely, and just feeling a part of where you're at, what you're doing, how the body feels, and just starting to connect the body-mind awareness and just gently bring ourselves into our bodies out of our busy day, and just start to prepare our bodies for the wind down for the evening. For those of you who are joining us internationally, it may be the start of your day. So it's really a lovely focus to bring in absolutely anywhere, okay, and at any time as well. Especially if you're working a lot with computers, the electromagnetic frequency can cause what we call short-circuiting in the brain. So basically the brain's neural firing doesn't fire as well as it normally would. So it becomes a bit blurred in how it wants to work with the information. So just working with this Qigong movement is really beautiful, just to kind of re-establish the body and the mind where it's at and in its clear reality. Okay, so just generally letting the body move however you want to move. It's just more a kind of loosening up. Feel how the body feels to go through different spaces, different movements, just kind of getting a feel for where the body is at, if everything's kind of connecting and working okay. So it's really just a general movement. When we work with the fascia in itself holds a really beautiful, unique, experiential movement or expression. So when we do these holds and these applications, it's really important to honor how the body wants to respond. Now, those of you who are quite new to this, you may be a little bit hesitant to allow the body to move. What's really great with the online is that no one can actually see you. So if you need to do weird and wonderful movements, then connect with that, honor that. If you feel uncomfortable with the movement, don't force anything. Just stay in space with the body and allow the body to connect how it wants to connect. Okay, that's really, really important. This is honoring what the body is needing at this specific time. Okay, so how this whole application works. This is from the fascia response and integration system that we teach, and it's a really beautiful technique that if at any time you're feeling uncomfortable or you're feeling a bit sore or you're just emotionally unbalanced, you can use these applications to reground yourself and to bring your body back into focus, and that's on all dimensional influences. Okay, so we're going to work with what we call 2 placements. All right, so your first placement, what you're going to do, we're going to just work with, let's work with the numerology 2, because we're in a 2-year master number, that whole thing. I like playing around with that stuff. So we're going to hold in, or we're going to work with 2 deep breaths. Okay, now you can move through the breaths, or you can stand nice and relaxed. So I like to move, so bringing in the breath nice and deep. And again, just really breathing in that breath of life and just feeling all its amazing aspects that it brings to you during this time. This is a really exciting time. I know there's a lot going on, but I'm actually quite excited working with these things. Okay, so the first point that you will do once you've done your breath is to bring focus. And your breath is to bring awareness. So use that. If you're lacking balance or you're lacking focus or you're very busy, do more breaths. Okay, we've been quite relaxed today, so I'm only going to do 2. Your first point of application. If you've got a specific focus that you're working with, hold that in mind. If you're just working freely, that's also fine. Okay, so closing the eyes and just bringing focus into the body. You're going to ask your body to show you or guide you to a specific place that it wants to be held. Okay, so what can happen here? This is more like a leaning or a drawing towards a certain space. Some of you who are really connected and comfortable with these concepts will be led to a place straight away. Some of you who are not quite sure where you should hold, if you've got a symptomatic expression that you want to work with, like a sore neck or shoulder or a headache, you can actually hold according to that symptomatic expression. It's absolutely fine. Okay, you'll build the trust of the body, and the body will build the intuitive guidance as you practice these techniques. All right, so bringing our focus in, you can do this through a breath. I'm going to ask my body where it needs to be held, and my first holding is over heart. Okay, so when we work with the heart, my connection, I'm feeling the emotional turbulence at the moment in my environment quite strongly. There's stuff personally that I'm working with as well. So for me, my first point of focus is the heart. Okay, now whenever your body has guided you to a specific placement, we always just say thank you, and in such kindness and gratitude, thank you for guiding me to where I need to be aware of. Okay, so what we can work with here, and you can work with these in as much depth or minimalism as you want to. All right, so from here, I'm going to ask my body, and you can do the same. So we're going to ask our body, is there anything in this place that we've been guided to that I need to be aware of? Okay, so you can simplify it and say, tell me what I need to know, show me what I need to know, help me feel what I need to be aware of. And you can play around with it as much as you want. Those of you who have done the Alpha Mind workshop with us, you can tap into it from the Alpha Mind techniques, and you can start working with any extra information that may come through. You can really work with this as wide as you possibly want to. Those that work with guides or angels or spirit animals, just explore, have as much fun with this as you can possibly have. Okay, so I've got my focus. So my focus specifically for my heart, something that I need to be aware of, is quite an interesting statement, because it comes up as a gentleness in forgiveness. So we often find forgiveness as a really aggressive form of expression. So for me, my focus is coming through as more of a gentle forgiveness. So I'm going to work with that. Now, once you've got that focus on the first point, you've got your second placement that will come in. And again, it doesn't matter which hand leads, which hand follows, just work with what comes with you. So we're going to ask our body to show us or guide us to a second placement. All right, so straight away, mine comes into more of a pelvic expression. So I'm on 3 devices here, so I'm trying to get as much as I can in for all of you. Okay, so in these 2 placements now, again for the second placement, you're going to just say thank you, and in such kindness and gratitude, thank you so much for showing me where I need to be aware of. And in the second placement, you're going to again ask, show me what I need to know, tell me what I need to be aware of, is there anything I need to feel that I need to be aware of, and just be mindful and grateful, have gratitude for the information that you've been shown here. Now, what happens in these 2 points of connection, you essentially create an energetic link. Okay, now when we work with the fascial response and integration system, it is all about the energetic links between certain connections in the body, and the connections can be anything. It can be off the body, in the body, part of the energy systems. Well, everything is energy. But when we can work it, we work it in the system from an elemental influence, from a consciousness perspective, meridian influences, the yin-yang activity of the connections. However it comes through, we work. So when you do the workshop, you will learn those techniques in much greater detail. So for today, we're going to keep things quite simple. So the 2 hand placements that you've got, make sure that you're nice and comfortable in those placements. Like for me, I feel that my hands actually want to swap, and that is absolutely fine. Now, a point here, if you've got a point on the body that needs to be held, but you cannot reach it. Okay, you can hold it in intention. So for example, if I had one here and one inside my diaphragm, I can't get inside my diaphragm or inside the lung. I can't physically get in there. So all that you would do is just place your hand comfortably wherever it wants to hold. You can do a placement similar around that place and hold intention that wherever you're placing, you're actually holding that placement of intuition. Okay, so that's working through intention. Very, very powerful. All right, so you don't have to physically be able to touch where your body wants to be held. Okay, so I'm going to just come back to my placements here. All right, now this energetic linking will create a almost like a clearing of information. Now, when you hold the body, because you're working subconsciously here, you may get information for what the body is wanting you to know. The information can come through as memories, emotions, thought patterns, pictures. Every person is different. So just be mindful of what the body is showing you. You don't need to necessarily do anything with that information. Okay, so as you're holding these two placements, we're going to work with a statement to support the concept of neutrality that we work with in the fascia response and integration system. The neutrality is essentially allowing the body to adjust the connections, relaxations, communication systems, however the body needs to work in accordance with its prioritized adjustment. That is what the neutrality will hold in influence. Okay, so we're going to essentially just hold into those two places, and we're going to intend that neutrality is observed. Okay, now as we work with that statement, my body straight away wants to move. So your body may actually move as well. As the movement comes through, this is essentially the fascia unwinding, the fascia repositioning, the fascia working with an adjusted placement of reality in more of a quantum influence. So it works as a natural, innate energy communication system. And some of the movements may be a little bit faster than others. Some may be slower. You may get like what I've got now is that my body is in a neutral position, but it's very, very comfortable where this is. Now, under my right hand, I've got a lot of tremoring happening here. If you do experience the same, it is perfectly normal. It's often what we call a trauma release in the tissue. So the tissue actually releases a trauma through an expressional state of vibration. It may be very subtle, it may be a little bit more intense, it may actually have shaking. So just allow the body to connect as it wants to go. So we just keep holding focus for the energetic linking of the 2 points that we've set up initially now today as our first points. And we just work with how the body needs to move. And you'll find sometimes the body can actually release the movements quite quick. Sometimes they take a little bit longer. So this rotational release that I've got here is one of the main spiral fascial influences and zones that we work with, which often wraps the body from a kinesthetic balancing perspective. So it orientates the body with its, almost like its energy space within your life, within the world, within your environment. Okay, so mine has now come to a complete space, and I check. You can actually ask your body this as well. Do I need to have a new placement? And it will either be a yes or it will be a no. If you're unsure, you can keep the hands or you can place them into a new position. Okay, so in between placements, I just like to move my body around because we're changing the body's connection, we're changing the body's orientation. So I want to give my body a little bit of a fascial repositioning and just kind of feel my new space of being. So freedom of movement, you can move how you want to move in this. Mine is going quite deep into my spine, which is actually where I was wanting to hold the focus anyway. So that's pretty cool. So I'm just going to allow my body. Now, in the fascia movement, one of the most beautiful experiences is the fact that your body will feel different. So please don't misinterpret the different feeling or the different movement expression with something that is not right. Okay, in the fascia movement, because your body is working from a very innate point of movement and an innate perspective of communication and expression, your body's movement will only be within the capacity of what it can work with. Okay, so when we work with our second points now, we're going to work a little bit more quietly just to give you guys a bit of space to work with this. Okay, so a nice one to do in between is just the kind of like the warm-up that we do with the Qigong. I think it's the 101. Please, I stand to be corrected on that one. Toes pointing nice and forward, just moving the body, building our chi and just building the energy into the body. Okay, now we're going to do a placement hold here just to allow the body to reconnect into its new space. We're going to place our hands over the navel. Now what we're doing here is that we're working with the consciousness or the awareness of the navel consciousness. So kind of like our connection to life, where our connection to life essentially came from and started. So we like the umbilical cord experience. So we're bringing in, just holding over that placement and just drawing our attention almost like back to source, if you can even have a look at it like that. Please, this is not a religious focus of any kind. It's basically just bringing the awareness into the body. Okay, my body's just a bit uncomfortable, so I'm just moving it a little bit before we start the second hold. You just trust how your body wants to work with the new position. Okay, all right. So we're going to go into our second hold. So we're going to work with 2 breaths again. Okay. And again, if you want to work with more breaths, that's fine. All right, body should feel really super relaxed. Okay. So I'm actually letting my second hold be a completely free placement, no focus for this one. I just want to see where my body's at and what my body's needing. So my first hold is behind the neck, and it's specific to keep the arm open. So you can hold in different ways, okay? Mine is specific to keep that channel open. Now, the first thing that comes through that is for a heart entry point 1, which sits underneath the armpit. So it's a heart opener experience that's coming through here. Okay. Second placement is onto my solar plexus. If you're not sure how to place your body, you can work with my placements as well. It's really not a problem. So holding these placements. Now, we're just going to give gratitude. So remember, each time you place, you give gratitude for the body to draw your attention to that space so that it may allow the healing to come through. Okay, so I'm already moving. If you're quite sensitive, you may bring the connection through straight away. But we're going to bring in the statement of neutrality observed. Now, when we work with the concept of neutrality observed, it's an instant recognition. It's instant time, it's vertical time, it happens now. So the neutrality of the bodily expression is going to change right now. So I've got still a lot of rotational release happening here and a lot of spine opening coming through. So as you work with your fascial releases, just nice deep breaths, and all I can say is trust the body. Let the body guide you as it needs to work and as it needs to connect. If you feel the body is a bit stuck in one position, you can repeat the statement neutrality observed. And these techniques, guys, are so simple. If you've got little kiddies at home, that are quite pent up and quite caught up in just kind of like where everything is at the moment, you can ask them, point to one part on your body. Show me one part of your body that you want to hold right now. And then once they've got it, you can say, oh, what picture do you see? Or do you see a color? Do you feel anything? So often the kids don't like participating in much information. So you can just do the placements and then ask them to point to a second part on the body that they connect to or that they want to hold. And once they've got those placement holds, you can ask them to say neutrality observed, almost like a statement, like a sense of triumph, and just let their body move. So do it with them. So when they see you moving, they may move or they may do absolutely nothing. You'll be very surprised how kids come through with the information in these sessions. It's quite refreshing. Okay. So once you've finished with your second placement hold, because these releases work so deep, you can often feel sometimes physical discomfort if you're really sensitive. So often I get like a sense of nausea, but it's not nausea. I can feel it's just an energy move within the body. So just be gentle with yourself on the first times that you practice working with these. I wouldn't necessarily say do something like this every single day. The movement releases are really great, so you can do those. If you're feeling a bit like heavy in the body from the movements, you can just move in and around the body, just let the body move. The arms, these rotational movements are really beautiful. You've got all the heart meridians that sit into those arms and underneath the points here, and you've got small intestine as well. So when we work with rotational expressions through the arms, it allows the heart points to open up, it allows the fire meridian to kind of get moving, and it allows us to open up into our expressions. So they're really lovely ways that you can kind of bring into the body if you really want to, okay? But you don't have to. This is all about you. This is about your expression. This is about nurturing what your body is needing at this time. So we're going to close off. We don't want to do too much straight away because it can put the body into overwhelm. So that is essentially a intuitive fascia response session. So a couple of guidelines to simplify what we've done. We do a couple of deep breaths, and when you breathe, you really hold the focus on breathing in the breath of life. Everything that breath feels like. What does it feel like in the lungs, the throat, the nourishment, just the pure privilege of being able to breathe. It's a beautiful experience. So engage in that experience. So when you're breathing in, just allow the body to connect on a breath level part of the life force energy or the life force trilogy of chi, bringing in movement, the breath of life. Okay, so we do a couple of breaths as our starting point. Second point, we just allow the body to be present, and we're going to essentially warm the body up. Just get it moving so that if it does go through quite extreme rotational releases, that the body is nice and warm and it can connect from whatever perspective it needs to. Then we're going to ask for our first placement hold. And in that first placement hold, wherever it is, we give a really deep sense of gratitude for the body showing us what it's needing at this point in time. You can connect deeper into that point if you want to. Ask for information, any traumas, any information that you need to know or feel or be aware of. If you do not connect like that with the body, it is fine. Just holding the placement will hold influence onto all those different levels. So once you've got your first placement, give gratitude for the body for showing you that. Second placement, you ask for a second point of what the body is needing or where the body is needing you to hold. You hold the second placement, give gratitude for that information, and essentially that creates your energetic link. For the intuitive response, you're going to link both of those hands as a communication sequencing. What that sequencing is going to do, this is your prioritized point of fascia response in whatever neutrality. So the neutrality, remember, can be relaxation, it can be softening, it can be reconnection, repositioning, realignment. The neutrality will hold whatever influence the body is needing in its prioritized focus. So in those 2 points, we work with nice deep breaths. We intend, or we hold the statement of neutrality observed, and just in that energetic link, the body may want to move to release any fascial tensions or to reconnect any fascia that has not been connecting in its optimal expressional state of being. So work with the body on whatever level that you are at. At the end of every session, just really have a deep sense of gratitude. If you want to do meditations or however you want to work with it, it's fine. These are things that you can do wherever. So if you're standing in the shops, you can even just hold points. Obviously, if you start doing strange things in the queue, you may get to the front faster, but people may question what you're doing. But you can really work with the same concept without moving the body and just holding the neutrality observed to allow that body to reconnect, to ground, and to just essentially participate in any information that it needs you to be aware of. So it is that simple. As I said, absolutely anybody can do this technique. It's more an application, it's not really a technique, it's just intuitive guiding and connection with the body. So we're going to close off today. If there are any questions, I'm happy to answer. I see there are some things that have come through here. I just want to check if there are any questions. It's so lovely to see all of you guys on here. Okay. All right. Cool. So we're seeing some confirmations that there have been some nice releases, that the bodies are feeling good. Remember, guys, at this stage or this place that we're in, we have the opportunity to engage with a different perspective. We have certain restrictions or guidelines, as I like to work with the awareness, of what we can do. So use this as an opportunity to start building the relationship with yourself that potentially in the past we've either been too busy to do, or we haven't had the time, or we haven't actually wanted to go there. With working with those ideas and those concepts, working with the different intuitive movements, and working with the idea of being with yourself and allowing those processes to come through into movement is a very special experience. So thank you so much for joining us. I see there are still people coming online and joining us. If you have missed today's intuitive session, I will be doing more, but I will be posting the video on our Facebook page, and it will be available on the Instagram story. I've got it recorded on my iPad. I'm just crossing fingers that it does record because it never quite wants to do that. But as soon as I've got the video, I will put it onto our YouTube channel as well. YouTube channel is the ICB Studios. So we've got some other really cool things on there as well. And yeah, just keep up to date. And if you want to do a specific focus for an intuitive or a fascia movement session, please send us a message. I'm open to working with you guys how you're needing to at this stage. And really such a beautiful thank you for being part of our session. Have the most amazing evening, morning, afternoon, wherever you are. And lots of love to you all. So much kindness, so much gratitude. Thank you for joining us. Cheers.